Yes, yes, yes! Another great music track opening the show today. Hey, good morning, everybody. What's shaking? What's going on? It is 11:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, April the 16th. Thursday, April the 16th, 2020. How you guys doing? Today, I want to talk my top 10 favorite Halloween 2 moments. Halloween 2. Let's play that friggin' intro again, shall we? I love that. That's just a great intro. Great piece of music. I want to play it again. I want to feel it. I want to feel it. I want to feel it. Yes, I am talking my favorite Halloween 2, or my top 10 Halloween 2 moments. The original Halloween 2 from 1981, directed by Rick Rosenthal, written, produced by John Carpenter. Deborah Hill's in there a little bit too, of course. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, Lee Brackett. Well, not really Lee Brackett, it's Charles Cyphers, but playing Lee Brackett, I should say. So this is going to be fun. Why did I decide to do this today? Well, because, I talk Halloween a lot on this channel, obviously. And I talk mostly about the original Halloween. And part of the reason for that is because I do consider myself a Halloween purist, but it's not because I don't appreciate or cannot find some things that I enjoy on some level, even if they are very far and few between or virtually non-existent at all in some of the later sequels. I'm not a fan of where they took the story. I'm not a fan of where they took the movies. I understand that for the most part, it was a product of its time, and it all depends on, current trends and current things happening in the world of horror, as I've mentioned many times on this channel before. And of course, they have to make up stuff to keep Michael Myers going. So for me, the original Halloween, there's two ways you can do it. You can watch the original Halloween as a standalone film, which was its original intent. You can watch it on its own, and when he's gone at the end of the movie, that's just kind of it. Like, that's sort of, it's like watching an old school black and white Hitchcock film or something like that, right? However, you can also watch the original film with the intention of watching its sequel from 1981, Halloween 2, which I think is the best sequel in the franchise, and there's a few reasons for that, which I'll briefly talk about in a second. But you can watch it from that perspective as well. And there are sometimes I'll watch the original Halloween and just kind of, leave it at that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm going to watch it today, kind of getting into the zone that there is a second part after this. And one of the reasons why I sort of rose to prominence on this channel talking about Halloween, one of the ways that I did that is what I meant, was because I wanted to sort of tackle things that not a lot of people were talking about. I'm sure there's a lot of people that know this now, and there were probably quite a few people that knew this before, but I've had so many people reach out to me over the last several years saying, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea that it was supposed to, that was just, I didn't even, and then I went back and I looked, and then I read and then I thought, and then I heard oh my God, I had no idea. So it's really cool to kind of, tackle that and sort of put that on the map. And it helps to give you a better appreciation of the original film, despite the fact that maybe you may not want to, maybe you like the fact that it goes on and on. Maybe you like the fact that Halloween 2 exists and you consider that the series, which I do. If I'm thinking about it as a series, really it's Halloween 1 and 2 and that's it for me, because I just don't like what they did. I can appreciate 4 for what it is, and I certainly think it's the best of the later sequels. Everything after 4 is just, in my opinion, just dog shit, essentially. Yes, including H2O. Although H2O isn't quite as dog shit as 5, and 6 isn't as dog shit as 5, and, it's not as dog shit as, Resurrection or something. It's all different levels of dog shit. But, but I just never really liked what they did. So, but it's so cool to kind of get people who reach out to you and are like, oh, I didn't really get, because I like it, because I think it gives people, like I said, a better appreciation of not just the original film, but even, it gives you a better appreciation for then watching it as a series or watching it as 1 and 2. At least it does for me. You know, I don't think that appreciation lies in a vacuum where it's just, you know, you can only appreciate the original film when you know that. I think it gives you a better context and a better appreciation for everything, actually. And to the character of Michael Myers, and why some people like myself, purists like myself, kind of, you know, go, yeah, I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know if that, because I believe that the character really had a shelf life. And that is why John Carpenter killed him at the end of 2. Although he did open things up a little bit, right, to kind of justify this continuing on. He did put in the, he's her brother, he's her sister, which was completely unnecessary, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I do understand why that was done. And of course, you open up a few little things. But the reason why he did kill him at the end of the second film, because remember, the original intent was to start an anthology series. So Michael Myers was dead. He was dead at the end of 1981's Halloween 2. He was. That was it. Now, I know he came back, but he was dead. Like in 1981, that was it. Done. Gone. There's nothing more. I mean, listen, if there was nothing more to tell at the end of the first one, there's certainly nothing more now to tell at the end of the second one. He's dead. That's why we killed him. He burned. He's burning. He's dead. He's dead, folks. He's dead. Because they wanted to go off in an anthology route. And if that anthology route had been successful, if Halloween 3 had been even moderately successful in terms of justifying, hey, you know what? Okay, maybe it's taken a little bit for people to warm up, but you know what? It did pretty good, did really well, good feedback. Let's continue on. We may not have any more Michael Myers movies beyond Halloween 2. That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible. Had that anthology decision been successful, Michael Myers probably would have remained dead like he was dead at the end of Halloween 2. The only reason why he came back is because 3 was not successful. So, but I like Halloween 2. I do. For what it is, I do. I think it's far inferior to the first movie. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. I do think it's far inferior for a variety of reasons, which I would take me too long to get into here, obviously. You guys already know that. But I think it's I think the genius of that film, if you want to point to a genius part of that movie, is that it did pick up where the first one left off. So it feels like you're watching one movie with 2 separate parts, despite the fact that there are a few things in Halloween 2 that don't quite feel in line with the first movie. And I'm talking about sort of the way Dick Warlock portrays Michael and, you know, certain, the extra amping of gore and all that kind of stuff. Certainly it does feel like a genuine continuation. It's the same night. And you can watch it back to back, and it's like you're watching one movie with 2 separate parts. So I've always appreciated the second film. And there's quite a few things in there that I quite enjoy. So for me, I consider the series 1 and 2 if I'm looking at it as a series. If I want to extend myself, I can go to 4, but it's really hard for me to go to 5. It's really hard for me to go beyond 4. It really is. Like, I mean, if I was going to go beyond 2, it would be like, hey, 4, and then the end of the series is kind of Jamie at the top of the stairs. No. And that's the end, you know what I mean? But of course, Halloween 2018, right? I mean, you know, definitely the best sequel probably since 4, that's for sure. You know, but, you know, we can talk about that some other time. I'm here to talk to you about, I should say, my top 10 favorite moments in the original Halloween 2. And I say the original Halloween 2 because obviously there was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. Now this is kind of in order. Definitely, I would say the top 3 definitely are in order, I would say. But anything above 3 can sort of be interchangeable, I guess. You know, a couple, maybe 7 could be 8, 8 could be 9 or something like that. And I did put 2 honorable mentions. Now, you might have a different list than me. Remember, okay, that this isn't the gospel. Okay, this is just, you know, when I think of Halloween 2, because that's the thing. How do I decipher again, it's my top 10, not the top 10, right? How did I come to my top 10? Well, it's just when I think of Halloween 2, what are the scenes and the moments that pop into my head the most? That doesn't mean there's not not going to be something that you guys might say, and I might be like, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't have it down here, right? But it's just sort of the scenes that pop into my head the most. Now remember, these are my top 10 moments, and I chose the word moment because, instead of shot or scene, because a moment can be a couple of scenes. A moment can be 4 or 5 shots. A moment is usually one scene, but a moment can definitely be like 4 or 5 shots. You can have 10 shots in one scene. You can have 100 shots in one scene. So these are my top 10 moments from Halloween 2 from 1981. So here we go. And let's see if yours is the same. Let's see if yours turns out to be the same or similar to mine. You ready? Here we go. Number 10, again, no particular order per se, but definitely the top 3, I think, are the top 3 for me. Number 10 is the Loomis speech in the back of the car when he's talking about Sam Hain and how Halloween isn't goblins and ghosts and witches. It's what does he say? The unconscious. Damn, I should have brought that up. What does he say? Let me just bring this speech up here very quickly. Loomis speech. There we go. This should come up pretty quickly. Ba-da-da-da. No, not that one. I got to put Halloween 2, 1981. You see, that's what you got to do, folks. That's what you got to do. Okay, here we go. And the speech is, ladies and germs. Here we go. Yes, so Dr. Loomis says, in order to appease the gods, the druid priests held fire rituals. Prisoners of war, criminals, the insane, animals were burned alive in baskets. It's true, by the way. By observing the way they died, the druids believed they could see omens of the future, as Dr. Loomis likes to say. 2,000 years later, we've come no further. Sam Hain isn't evil spirits. It isn't goblins, ghosts, or witches. It's the unconscious mind. How many times have you guys heard me say that on this channel? We're all afraid of the dark inside ourselves. I love that. Wait, we're on? We on? Did we black out there for a moment? We're on. Are we okay? Did we disappear for a moment? Looked like we disappeared for a moment there, but I think we're okay. No? Oh, okay. For some reason, it looked like we had disappeared. Maybe my thing was just behind everything. Nope, no problem. We're good. Are we on? Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought everything went away for a moment, but apparently it didn't. That's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So yeah, so I love that. I love that speech because, again, when you watch Halloween 2, obviously the narrative's being written aligning, a motive now, a real motive, a motive like it is personal, right? You've heard me talk. I mean, Jesus, if there's one thing I've milked to death on this channel, it's the lack of motive, and and of course people like to play semantics, but definitely in Halloween 2, there is a motive that is revealed, right? Which is he's going after his sister. Okay, so now it is personal. There is a personal motive which doesn't actually exist in the original film. So I like that, and the part that I like about that speech is that it does still refer to it's referring to a supernatural element that is there, but also talking about, the darkness that is within all of us. And that's the human side sort of grounding it in reality. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of, it's keeping that balancing act there, right? And of course, when it comes to Michael Myers, I really like that. I really, really, really like that speech. And of course, I've talked about the psychology and the makeup of Myers and how he's a human, but there's that weird supernatural edge there that we're not quite sure. And this speech helps to keep that intact, helps to perpetuate and keep that, because you don't want to go too far one way and you don't want to go too far the other way. You know what I mean? So I like that. I really like that. And of course it is, helping the narrative of 2, but I still like it. It's pretty cool. Notice I didn't mention the speech about sister. Anyway. We'll talk about why that's unnecessary. Ben Tramer, number 9. Ben Tramer, good old Ben Tramer getting his ass kicked by Sheriff Brackett in the car and just getting, right. I like that. I mean, it's fun. It's nothing. It's not. It's just, when I think of it, you can't help but think of it. You can't help but think of it. And if I'm on my phone here, that's why I'm looking. You can't help but think of it, right? Good old Ben Tramer, just right into the van and the explosion in this. Is it him? Is it him? And, Dr. Loomis is going like this, woo, 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 woo. Is it him or not? I like it. Of course, it's just like, what the fuck's going on? Is it him? Of course, we know it's not him because he had a trick-or-treating bag. And really, at the end of the day, I as I've grown older over the years, I sometimes go, did you not notice he had a trick-or-treat bag? Like, did Myers finish killing some bitches? And then, of course, he went out and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go trick-or-treating. I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to take advantage of this. I mean, I'm not only going to take advantage of the fact that I can wear a mask and kill some people. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I can wear a mask and go to door and get some fucking candy. Some candy. He had a trick-or-treat bag. Great stuff. Number 8, shooting Michael Myers and the swinging stabs. Michael, and he gets shot in the eyes, right? And he's doing the, oh, I hit my microphone there. He's going, which is really funny because, take something in your hand and go like this. You don't hear anything. You don't hear anything. It's just, it's movie magic, folks. It's to complement the moment. It's to make the moment feel more, I got a cat here on my mic here. More, impactful, it's to complement the swings and really let you know that he's missing. Well, he's really going to town. I like that moment. You know what I mean? Again, that moment works in Halloween 2, and it fails when you watch the sequels because it's like, how can he see? You know what I mean? How I don't get it. How can the guy see? I mean, I don't know. So it doesn't really work when you watch the sequels because it's like, but it's a cool moment, that whole moment where he's walking, Michael, and he stops, he does the head tilt, and then he kind of walks, further. Cool stuff like that. Number 7 is the Mrs. Elrod scene and scream. Now, this is why, here's what I like about the Mrs. Elrod, Mr. and Mrs. Elrod. Mr. and Mrs. Elrod, Mrs. Elrod. This is what I like about that scene. Of course, it's all the POV shot up to that point when it comes to Michael. And then we cut to sort of like, we're not quite the television, but maybe we're like something on top of the television is sort of the framing. And Mr. Elrod, of course, is in the foreground and he's asleep like this or, whatever. And we can see Mrs. Elrod in the background, you want mayonnaise on your sandwich, and she's standing there. And then even behind her, is Dick Warlock as Michael Myers. And he's standing there and it's a cool shot. Just the shot is really cool. I do like the shot, the POV shot, when the hand comes into frame and picks up the knife and he's got blood on his hand. I like that because he's just been shot 6 times or 7, depending on which opening you want to go with, or which ending and opening you want to go with, the ending of 1 or the opening of 2. But he's been shot 6 times, right? And he got the blood there, and I like the fact that she backs up and she puts her hand down and she sees the blood and then what I like about this too, and this is so weird, I know a lot of people that don't like this, but I don't know, there's something about it that I quite like. After she screams, the scream trails off into the next scene, right? And then it cuts and we're outside, sort of in the backyard between the 2 houses, and you can hear her going, in the background, right? And we see Michael Myers, Dick Warlock, in the shadows, walking. And he's walking from like one house to the next. There's something about that walk that I really like. And of course, we pan over and he stops and he's in the darkness and the neighbor comes out and goes, Mrs. Elrod, Mr. Elrod, is everything okay? Or whatever she says, right? And he's kind of in the shadows. There's no music, just the crickets. Love all that. I really like all that. That whole moment, very suspenseful, really well done. And there's something about his walk that you see when he walks from the Elrods kind of to the neighbors, just because I don't know what it is. I like it's creepy. It's weird. But I don't mean it's creepy and weird because he's doing something different per se. I mean, maybe I don't know, because this is early on in the movie and I don't know if they shot this first. I don't know how much of the movie was shot in chronological order or not. But I do know that Dick Warlock, as we know throughout the movie, would often ask Rick, first name basis. Really nice guy, by the way. Had a chance to speak to him at the 40th anniversary convention. But I don't know if he, I mean, we do know that Dick was kind of like, how do you want me to walk? And nobody seemed to give him any direction. Nobody cared. So that's why he's so different. That's why he's walking like, a robot. But there's something about in that scene, that one shot, it doesn't feel quite as stiff as he does later on in the movie. And maybe that's because there's a little bit of just him walking in that shot. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely straight. He's not, doing this, but there's just something about it that I like. I've always liked. There's something about it. Later on in the movie, of course, and maybe it's because he's in the darkness, he's in shadow a lot, and maybe we're not seeing a lot of the details, so it's masked. I don't know, but it's just a really cool shot to me. So I like that. I like that, whole moment there. The whole moment. He's really good. Where are we here? How you guys doing? You guys doing well? Good. What do we got? We got 167 people. Dave, talk about Halloween. Number 6. We're at number 6. The hot tub scene and kill. Now, I like the hot tub scene, not because of any boobage or anything like that. I don't really care about that. I like the hot tub scene just because it's, again, it's far removed from the, Hitchcock type of style of the original film. This is definitely early 80s slasher. But I like it because as far as early 80s slashers go, it's a cool death scene. It's a cool scene, and it's a cool moment. You know what I mean? When he comes in and, puts the hand on the shoulder and, takes her head right into the water and, the temperature's going up and he's got his hand. It's like, how the fuck is he not affecting this? How the fuck is going on? Lifts her head up like this and she's, and then down again into the water. And it's like, holy shit. And then up again like this and then down again in the water. And there's a shot, like the master shot essentially of that scene where he's going like this and we see her being pulled out by him. He's in the shot as well and he's putting her down. He looks really cool. Like it's a very cool, the lighting is really cool. The camera angle's really nice. He looks, like I like the way Michael Myers looks in that moment. Not very Hitchcock, it's very far removed from the original film, but we're talking about Halloween 2 on its own merits here, and it's a cool scene. It's a cool moment, and I like that, and I think a lot of people do, but whether we see boobs or not is completely irrelevant to me, to be honest with you. I don't really care. But it's a cool moment. Love the moment. And I also like, again, the whole hot tub thing. I mean, I like when Bud goes back into the back to kind of turn down the temperature a bit because it's getting a little too hot. And Michael comes over and starts to strangle him. And you just see him in the background going, and this kind of falls down. It's kind of funny, but it works. It works. And there's no music there or anything, just seeing him in the background. I like that. And then Michael comes to the door, slowly opens the door, walks in. I like that. Really cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So that would be my number 6. My number 5. My number 5 favorite moment from Halloween 2. And this could actually be lower on the list. I mean, lower, like closer to number 1. But I love it. I love this moment. Is, I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is. He doesn't say it like that. He's just like, you don't know what death is. And he takes off down the sidewalk and, but the new Halloween theme that we haven't heard yet, the synth score by Alan Howarth. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to this day. Now, we can have a debate whether, that theme is better than the original theme, and I still like the piano theme the best, but from the original. But there is, I got to admit, I do really like what Alan Howarth did with Halloween 2. It still gives the same flavor, but it's, it's very 80s, and it's still haunting and ethereal and gothic-like, but it's good. It's good. It's different, but it's good. And I really like his theme. And I like that moment. You don't know what death is, and takes off down the sidewalk, and it's great. It's a great moment. Now, I to piggyback on that, something I didn't like from Halloween 2 was the beginning of the movie where he comes out into the yard and there's like this snow angel footprint of Michael Myers' body on the front lawn. That's completely unnecessary. It's comical. I've always thought it was comical, and closer to the release of the movie. Like when I was watching the movie, like in the late 80s as a kid, I thought it was funny because it's unnecessary. You know, I think what would have been a better, more mature approach was he opens the door, he comes out, right? He looks to the lawn. We show the lawn, but there's nothing there. And then he's like, what the hell? And he goes over to it, still kneels down, goes like this, looks at his hand, and there's blood. I think that's way more powerful. And the reason why that's more powerful is because had, you know, in a general sense, had anybody looked at, besides Loomis, like a neighbor walking by, had anybody looked at the lawn, you would never know there was a body there. But the blood tells you there was. And that's cool because you would never know just looking at it. But there's blood. He was here. You know, it's like, it gives me goosebumps even saying that. I love that. Seeing this imprint, this snow angel footprint of this body lying on the grass, like it's some chalk outline from one of the Naked Gun movies, is just completely unnecessary. You would have to be lying in the grass for like 48 hours, 48 hours, not quite, for at least an hour or two to get up and lie on the grass, go out into your lawn and lie on the grass for 30 seconds. You know, do you leave an imprint? No. You know, you got to be lying there for like an hour or so, and then you get up. You can kind of see a bit of an outline because you know you've matted down the blades of grass. So I never liked it. I still don't like it today because I think it is absolutely unnecessary and way more powerful if you just see a lawn and he goes over and then he goes like this and there's the blood. It's like, oh fuck. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Never really liked that. Anyway, I know we're talking about things that I do really like and things and moments that I really enjoy, but that's a moment that, like, I like the whole blood, like from the moment he goes like this and he sees the blood, from that moment on, right to the, you know, dun, 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 I love it. I think it's great, but just seeing the outline, I have to admit, I've watched Halloween 2 with a few people who've never seen it before, and when it gets to that point, they're always kind of like, ha, because it's true. It's kind of funny. All right. Number four, the stab in the back and lift, chase down the hall. The nurse, of course, it gets stabbed in the back, lifted up like this. Her clogs fall to the ground, or her shoes or whatever. And then she falls, and then bum, bum, bum. Ding, 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 ding. And, you know, he's walking down the hall and it's great. The lurking that Michael has been doing is paid off there. And he finally has found Laurie, and there's a great little chase scene. Now, it's not much of a chase per se. I mean, she's running, he's sort of sauntering. Again, this all comes down to, it would have been better if Dick Warlock had some direction, and he was a bit faster. He was just walking. It would have been way better, even if Dick Warlock's natural walk isn't quite like Nick Castle's, which obviously it wouldn't be. It would have been better for Dick Warlock to just have walked. Even though you might be like, oh, it's not the same guy. It would have been way better if you just walked, you know, rather than this kind of thing that he was doing. It just, you know, it never, you know, I mean, there's moments in the movie where you're like, oh, that's fine. That actually works. That's not bad. And then there's moments where you're like, yeah, no, that's okay. But yeah, I love that moment. Who doesn't like it? The way she's like, Laurie, wait, Laurie. I think that's exactly what she says. Laurie, wait, Laurie, something like that. And Laurie's all, you know, drugged up, and she turns around and she's like this, you know. And then, and then Michael just steps out, and there's no musical stinger. We just see him step out, and the stinger only happens when she turns and sees him. It's great stuff. Love it. Definitely a classic Halloween 2 moment, which is why it's a thumbnail of this video. All right, great stuff. Number 3. So these are essentially in order for me. Number 3, on fire walking down the hall. Love it. Who doesn't love that? That is amazing. You know what I mean? Laurie is hiding. I mean, everything, the explosion, Laurie's hiding, you know, around the corner, and all of a sudden he comes through the door and it's, you know, the theme's playing or whatever. And there he is just walking down the hall like this. It's like, no, like a great The explosion was a great sense, a great false sense of security. And then there's just that extra, just that little exclamation point as he's walking down the hall. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, like watching that in 1981, I would have had that sort of reaction, you know? I would have been like, are you kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. And there he is, walking down the hall, you know what I mean? And he's done, and then boom, and he crashes to the ground and burns alive to his death. It is an awesome, not only is the cinematography great, Dean Cundy, shout out to Dean Cundy, who is an absolute wonderful human being to talk to, by the way. I had the opportunity to speak to him as well at the 40th anniversary convention, and he was the one I was most excited to talk to. Now, of course, we talked a bit about Halloween, of course. We talked a bit about a few other things, but the reason why I was most excited to talk to him, and this is no disrespect to anybody else there. No, I don't mean this at all. I'm just going to talk about facts, right? Most of the actors that are there, of course, are mostly known for Halloween, or, you know, a couple of movies they've been in, for the original, for, you know, whatever, right? But Dean Cundy is a legendary cinematographer. He's one of the greatest DPs in the history of cinema. I mean, he shot not only Halloween, but, you know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Back to the Future trilogy and Jurassic Park and Apollo 13 and, you know, I mean, Escape from New York and I mean, he's I mean, the films and the people he's worked with, Spielberg and Zemeckis, and I mean, you're meeting a bona fide legend, not just a Halloween legend, a filmmaking legend. Do you know what I mean? Like that's pretty cool. So I was really excited to talk to him, and really, really nice guy. And his, of course, Psycho 2. He also did Psycho 2. His work on Halloween 2 is great. It's one of the reasons why I think we really like Halloween 2 is because of the visual aesthetic and style that he brought to the film. Although it's a slasher movie, more of a slasher movie than the original ever was, there's still that there, if you know what I mean. Okay, that was number three. Number two, ladies and germs. Number two is Michael comes from around the corner and chases Lori. Towards the end of the movie, you know, she's, help me! You know, she's on the ground, and the nurse and Loomis and the marshal have just come back to the hospital, and then Michael just steps around the corner in that red glow of light that's on his face, and you hear the iconic, you know, Alan Howarth score, ding, 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 and it's like, and there he is, and he's just walking, and he's walking. That is, I don't know if Dick Warlock did anything different there, but that walk looks different to me. Now, mind you, we're seeing him from about the waist up is the shots, but a medium shot. But it looks really good. And the mask looks really good. The lighting choices were really good. Of course, when he steps out, there's like this red sort of, you know, light that's being cast on him that I get the impression it's some sort of like red light from the building that he's next to there. And then as he moves away from that, he moves into sort of more natural ambient darkness, but he's still coming into certain bits of light that are in the environment and comes out of the light, into the light, out of the light. Looks spectacular. The mask looks great. The moment is great. The suspense is fantastic. She's banging on the door and fucking shit. I mean, how can you not love this moment? And then, you know, get in. You know, Dr. Loomis goes over and then he just walks right through the probably the sugar glass that was built into that frame, and sugar glass is breakaway glass, and comes right through, and then it's cool. It's awesome shit. Love it. Love that whole moment. It's a genuinely really good moment in Halloween 2. Really awesome stuff. So I gotta say that's my number two. That's my number two. Now, what is my number one, ladies and gentlemen? What is my number one? What is my number one, folks? My number one moment. My number one favorite moment in all of Halloween 2. And again, there's a lot of nice ones, a lot of good ones. There's some on here that I've even left off. My number one favorite moment is when Janet backs into Michael. Oh my God! My favorite moment in Halloween 2. That is my favorite moment. I don't think it gets talked about enough. I understand why, because I think people tend to focus on the kill with the syringe, you know, to the temple, and I get all that. It's not the kill that I like. I don't really care about the kill. The setup is awesome. And it is probably, I've said this before on my channel, it is probably the most Halloween 1 moment in Halloween 2 when it comes to the character of Michael Myers. I mean, that is Michael Myers. And the way they did that, she walks in to get Dr. Mixter's attention, you know, and she's like, oh my God. And she's backing up and she's backing up. And then all of a sudden, Dick Warlock as Michael Myers slowly emerges from the darkness behind her. And it's like, ah! It's great shit. Like, that is like, oh, and she backs into him, you know, and then she's like, oh my God. And she takes, like, that is what I'm talking about. Now, that's great shit. It's my favorite moment in the movie. And every time it happens, if I'm watching that movie with somebody who's never seen it, and I mean, there's a lot of moments that you kind of watch them watch it, you know what I mean? But that's one where I watch, because it's so good. It's so good. And brilliantly lit, brilliantly executed. I wish there was more of that. Of course, you can't be doing that with every single Michael Myers moment, because then, you know, the novelty is going to wear off and it's going to actually inadvertently get cheesy. But that moment is my favorite moment in Halloween 2. 100%. That's my favorite moment for sure. A couple of honorable mentions, of course. The Mr. Garrett death, I should say. You know, it's fine. Like, the death is cool. I always found the lead up to Mr. Garrett's death to be a little boring, to be honest with you. I think maybe, you know, when you are making the creative choice where to implement music and not, sometimes no music is the right choice to make. And sometimes it can create a world of suspense that is better than any musical score could have in that moment. And then sometimes you need music. And I've always felt that everything leading up to it, when he goes to the garage and he goes in, at first when there's no music, it kind of works. But as the scene drags on a bit, I've always felt that it feels a little draggy. And maybe a little bit of musical sort of something. Just something maybe just to help it along a little bit would have helped me anyway with that scene. Yeah, but you know, cool. And of course, last honorable mention, Amazing Grace, come sit on my... I got the actor who played Bud to say that, actually. It's on my channel. You can check it out. But he wouldn't say sit on my face. He wouldn't do it. I guess he's older and wiser in his age, and he's not getting paid. So I'm sure if I was like, hey, listen, I'll toss you, you know, a few $100 to say it. Okay. But, you know, great guy, really nice guy. And he was generous, of course, with his time to at least humor me part way. So if you ever see this, we love you, buddy. Great stuff. Amazing Grace from Leo Rossi. So it's cool, man. Cool. Let's see here. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of my top 10 favorite moments from Halloween 2? What do you guys think? Now, the last thing I want to say before we jump over to the Q&A is I said at the beginning of the show, I said, you know, the brother-sister story arc in Halloween 2 is actually unnecessary. I understand why Loomis implemented it, but actually because it's not really woven into the fabric of part 2, it's only sort of revealed in the last 15 minutes of the movie. You might as well just bring the whole fucking movie home at that point without ever revealing it, really, because I actually don't think you need it. Now, there is a few adjustments you would have to make, but they're not major adjustments, okay? The two things you would have to make is that, or the two adjustments you would have to make is you would have to obviously rearrange the dialogue of Marion Chambers. So, you know, the dialogue about that, you know, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister. It's 2 years before he was committed. And okay, you'd have to rework that. Not a big deal. I mean, it's really not a big deal. You can have her talk about something else in relation to Michael Myers, you know, maybe something along the lines of more of the psychology of him, right? You know, we discovered that there just really is something evil in there. And, you know, there's something, you know, whatever, right? There's something that she can sort of talk about that Loomis can play off of. That's really not a big deal. Trust me, it's not. So you sort of get rid of that reveal in that moment, because again, it's the third act kind of reveal. You kind of adjust that. You go back to the dream that Laurie has, right? Where she's has a dream of her and her mother's hanging up the laundry and she's a little girl, and, you know, the mom turns around, I'm not your mother, right? You know, all that, you know, that dream, it's foreshadowing the eventual reveal. And obviously that is something that is deep within Laurie that is suppressed into her subconscious, which is why she's having that dream. And it works. It works the way it does. But I think you don't need that, because if you wanted Laurie to have a dream, you could still have her have a dream, but she has a dream of the nightmare she's just experienced. So maybe we see, instead of a flashback to something like that doesn't immediately make sense to the audience, you can, and because you're not going that direction, you could totally have her having a dream about the events that have just happened. So we flash back to her in the closet, right? With Michael going, trying to come in and stuff. And she's like, this kind of stuff, whatever. And maybe it's in slow motion or something, right? And the lights flashing on and off or something. And we see Laurie going like this. She's having a nightmare about what just happened. That would be cool, and I think it would totally work. And it shows that obviously this has affected her. I mean, it literally just happened. And you could show maybe, a few other things in there too. Maybe him sitting up or something like that, right? And that's it. Because there's nothing else in the movie that tells you that Michael is Laurie's brother or Laurie is Michael's sister. You can change those two things, just alter those two things, and the rest of the movie can stay the same. The rest of the movie can stay the same. You don't have to change a fucking thing, and you can still have it end the same way. And I just sort of like, if the Laurie brother angle was found out more at maybe the first act, maybe Marion made her appearance in the first act of the movie. She showed up on scene, maybe at the Myers house or something. It's like, Dr. Loomis, I've been looking all over for you. I need to tell you something. You know what I mean? And then that brother-sister arc was then woven into the rest of the movie, where it becomes sort of the focal point, of the investigation, and something goes down. Well, then it becomes more difficult to change. Then it becomes part of the foundation of that movie. But because essentially 98% of that movie goes, without that reveal, you can change those things and the rest of the movie can just stay the same. Nothing changes. He's just the force of nature he was in the first movie. It's a little bloodier, a little more gratuitous. But nothing changes. And because you're going to kill him anyway, it works. It works. So I've always thought that really it kind of was unnecessary, because of where you place the reveal. I mean, it works. It works there too. It totally does. Right? Oh, because it's that moment in the third act where you're like, oh, you know what I mean? It absolutely works the way it does, but you can make just some slight adjustments and you actually don't have to really do anything else with the rest of the movie. So I've always kind of felt that way, but, yes, those are my top 10 favorite moments from the original Halloween 2 from 1981, which of course is my second favorite movie in the franchise. Let's go over to the chat room and see how you guys are doing. Yeah, let's see what you guys are doing. Let me make sure I'm all geared up here to switch camera angles. There we go. Let's see what you guys are doing. I know a few super chats came in, so let's go back and tackle those super chats now. Thank you, by the way. Todd Fayer says, my favorite Halloween moment was when Halloween 2018 ended because it was a horrible movie. Well, there you go. That's how Todd Fayer feels. Todd Fayer follows up with, Dave, can you please sing Let It Be in your Dr. Loomis voice, please? Let It Be? You mean like the, I'd have to look at the lyrics for that. Are you talking about hang on, I want to make sure. You're talking about the Beatles song, right? Are you talking about the Beatles song, Let It Be? Let it be, let it be. Yeah, I'd have to look at the lyrics for that. Let's see here. Let It Be song lyrics. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be. Drunk Dr. Loomis. There you go, buddy. Fun stuff. Let's see. Let me go back to the Let It Be. Remember in Sesame Street way back in the day? I'm going to date myself here. Letter B, like the letter B. You guys remember that? Hey, Chris Baber sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it. Ever notice when he falls off the house in 1978, he didn't fall off the porch balcony? Oh, yeah. Totally agree. Well, he does, but what happened? Oh, I see what you... Yeah, no. He's actually backing up into a... There's a ramp. And there's a ramp that kind of goes from the house up right where it meets the railing. And Dick Warlock is back. I think it's Dick that did that part because he's a stunt guy, so I don't see why he wouldn't. He's backing up and he meets where the ramp meets is completely parallel with the railing, and he just kind of falls off. He doesn't hit the railing and go over the railing. He just kind of walks off and just falls off. And it looks kind of funny. kind of strange, but nonetheless, there you go. Yeah, totally have noticed that for sure. Keith Davis sends a super chat. Thank you, Keith. Says, did you ever get your sequel synopsis published? No. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't get it published because I wouldn't be allowed to get it published because of copyright. I'm dealing with characters that I don't own. So. Do you mean just like written down somewhere? No, that'd be a tough thing to transcribe, man. That's like an hour and a half of me just talking. Thank you for supporting the channel, though, Keith. Eddie Greens 101 says, and then he sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, and then he had to taint that legacy by being the DP on Jack and Jill. That's right, he was. He was the DP on Jack and Jill. Although I think his legacy was intact long before Jack and Jill. But yeah, that was one he definitely did do. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, Dave, just got done skinny dipping. Ooh, skinny dipping, eh? Just got done skinny dipping with Carpenter, and he told me how Halloween ends. So Michael gets into his house, and his father is there, who is the tall man from Phantasm, and screams, boy! Cut to black. I love it. I love it. That is how this movie should end. That is how this movie should end right there. It'll confuse everybody. It's going to confuse everybody. It's going to make everybody feel strange. People are going to be like, what the fuck is going on? How is that even possible? I love it. I haven't seen Phantasm, Frank. I haven't seen Phantasm in quite a while. I haven't. Darren Sand says, oh man, Dave, as a Brit, I'm mortally wounded by that impersonation. Yes, it's dead. Fucking bloody Dr. Loomis's bloody hell of fucking drunken. That's how I do my Dr. Loomis. He's always like 3 sheets to the wind, completely inebriated. Fuck you, bloody sort of fucking. I always sort of take Loomis from part 5 and mix him in with a little of part 4, but I have him say lines from part 1 and 2, and it's like, it's kind of, it's the cartoon version of Dr. Loomis, if Dr. Loomis was ever a cartoon. I love it. Oh man. DJ Jones says, since I imagine hygiene wasn't a priority for him, do you think it's unrealistic that Michael will be able to sneak attack anyone? Like, how would you not smell him coming? The evil force washes him. The evil force just washes him inside. I don't know how, but he does. The evil force just washes him. Chris Baber sends a super chat to the channel. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. I'm just laughing at Darren. So fucking blood. You're blood. Oh my God, Dave. It's fucking blood. Funny Felon sends in a super chat of $6. Thank you so much, Funny Felon. Really appreciate you supporting the channel like that. Let's see. Jonathan Nichols says, did you catch Wham's live stream last night with Christopher Nelson, the FX guy from Halloween 2018, among any other movies? Think you enjoy it? I have not seen it. I saw it pop up. I think it's great that they were able to get Chris Nelson on there. Yes, Hollywood special effects makeup artist, Academy Award winning. I believe he won the Academy Award for Suicide Squad, I think, from 2016 is what he won it for. Haven't checked it out yet, but I will check it out. Good for the Wham guys. Let's see. Super chat comes in from Eddie Greens 101. Says, Dave, thanks to Trumpy's stimulus checks, I can send this. You should look into the Streamlabs. Same thing as super chat, but YouTube doesn't take any money. I've heard of Streamlabs. I will check that out. I will check it out. We're always evolving here on the channel, of course, and trying to figure out new ways to make it more interesting and fun for you guys and for me. So I will look into that. Just haven't had the time to do that yet. Thank you, Eddie. Much appreciated, buddy. Dread Mem 77 says, thank you for the super chat. Says, Dave, I'm surprised you left out the moment where the guy with the boombox walks into Michael, which is how MM finds out where Jamie is. I always like that moment, and the build up is nice as well. It's a cool moment. But remember, for me, the criteria is when I think of Halloween 2, what are the ballpark of the 10 things that I think of? And maybe that's what you think of, right? But what are the 10 things that I think of generally? Maybe that might be number 14 for me. It's not something that I think about a lot when I think of Halloween 2. Like if I close my eyes and think Halloween 2, the first thing that pops into my head is Janet backing into Michael and so on and so forth. So it's a cool moment though, and that definitely is how he finds out where Michael is. And that is Dick Warlock's son. For those of you that don't know that is Dick Warlock's son. Who bumps into him. So that was kind of a cool, nice moment for father and son there. Let me see here. Did I miss anything? No. I don't think I did I? Oh, maybe I didn't. I thought I did. I did not miss anything. Good. Let me see. Aaron Sand says, I doubt Donald Pleasance was aware he was even in age 5 and 6. Apparently he was paid gin. Oh, Darren, I love you, man. It's totally true. Jesus, Donald, don't breathe on me. What? Fucking body, show my job. Fuck. I'm going to, and I mean this, and this is mostly thanks to Frank Riker. He said to me, I guess it was a couple of streams ago, you said, what about doing a top 5 Loomis quotes or something like that? Well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it as like my favorite top 5 or 6 or 7, whatever, but drunk. So I'll be Loomis and I'll just do it drunk. I'll just read about fucking, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, not staring. I'll just do whatever. It's going to be fun to do. I'll have like a little coat on and everything. I don't have a beige trench coat, but I think you guys will get the idea. So that'll be fun to do. But yeah, Darren's right, man. He was, especially in 5. You know where he is, don't you? You know where he is. I think seeing the fear on little Danielle Harris was totally legitimate. Awesome stuff. You guys are great. Let's see. The Lonely Stoner talking to Darren. Great stuff. Movie Chat and More says, hey, Dave, late to the show. That's all right. Better late than never. Did you include the skull inside the pumpkin opening credits? I did not. include that, but that is a cool moment. I guess I didn't include it because when I was thinking about this in my mind, I was thinking more of things that are in the narrative, like when the actual film is running, when the story is moving. But the opening credits to Halloween 2 is fantastic. And that could easily be on my list, 100%. Yeah, definitely when you think of Halloween 2, that is an image that does come to my mind. So maybe I should have put it on there. Yeah, for sure. It's a really cool thing to see that pumpkin open up. Really cool indeed. Absolutely. Edwin A. Sordo says, what's good, Dave? I noticed how your Kylo Ren mask is wearing a cap with Nick Castle drinking Dr. Pepper. I wish Kylo wore that in the films. Can you imagine? Yeah, he is. He's drinking some, where are we here? There he is. Yeah. Can you imagine he did that? That'd be amazing. Johnny T says, the fact that Michael only walks slowly, he wouldn't be a very successful slasher in this day and age of social distancing. That's true. Or maybe he would be, because he'd be able to catch up to everybody else who's sort of walking slowly, trying to kind of, but I get what you're saying. That's true. He couldn't attack anybody. As many memes have circulated social media as of late, he is the social distancing champion. Michael Myers is, folks, the undisputed heavyweight social distancing champion of the world. Josh John says, Dave, what would the reputation of the series be if it was just 1 and 2 as a complete 2-part movies and that's it? I think there would probably be a remake by now of the original. And I don't know. If it was just 1 and 2, I think it would have been, because the sequels are so bad for the most part, and the original is so good for the most part, it's never really, the bad sequels have never really tarnished anything that the first one has done. But I think it would have been to end it with 2 is great. It is a complete story, even with the brother-sister angle there. Again, I don't think it's necessary. I explained why. I really don't. But even with it there, it still works. And it works in that moment. And he dies, and that's it. And it's like, great. And it's very symbolic with him dying on fire because he's evil. There's some sort of supernatural, and maybe it takes, fire to kill it, and all that. It's great. It's a great moment. It's a great ending to that character. It's a great ending to the character, because here's the thing too, is that when you end, this is what's so hard. When you end a character, and it's not like they knew this was going to be premature. when they ended Halloween 2, that was it, folks. Like I said to you at the beginning of the show, they wanted to do an anthology, right? So Michael was dead. In that moment, in that time, in 1981, he was dead. Like I said, had the anthology route been successful, that may have been to this day the last Michael Myers movie we ever got. So when you choose fire and to burn him in the ways that you did, the bar is so high that it's almost like, now where do you go to kill him? Like, I mean, you know, and then chopping off his head, you can't do that. You know, it's like, I mean, it's like they peaked too soon. Now, to them, they didn't think they were peaking too soon. They thought they were peaking at the right moment. But then to bring it back, I mean, that's part of the reason why Carpenter and Hill were never involved in the later sequels, was because it was kind of like, we think we should, we want to do this. And, you know, it was Mustafa Akkad that wanted to milk that cow like it's nobody's business. And they were kind of like, I'm out, you know, like I'm out. I mean, I don't, you know, of course, you know, he's back now, but, certainly it would have been, I don't know what else you do. I mean, even in my sequel concept idea, I do have fire. He does burn, but I'm not going to tell you what happens because you can go and watch that. It's on my channel. Just YouTube Dave McRae sequel concept idea, Halloween. I do use fire again, but there's a whole lot more going on from a philosophical and symbolic level that makes it feel new and makes it feel, this time it's going to work. It's not just, he just catches fire again. You know what I mean? Because you can't do that. Like, you can't just have him catch fire again without anything else there to elevate it to a new level. So if, like, for example, in Halloween Ends, if they want to kill him by burning him, there better be other things there that are complementing it. There better be other things in the story that are complementing it, you know, because, you know, you burned him in part 2, even though that's not canon now in this new timeline. You try to burn him again in part, you know, in 18. Well, that didn't work. What are you going to do? Like, I mean, you know, it's like, what it needs to feel like complete. It needs to feel like he's dead. And I think fire can work again. I think fire can work, but you got to bring a different level to the story. There's got to be a philosophical, metaphorical, symbolic sort of element to the story now, and to the moments leading up to him burning, you know, and you know, whatever that means, you know, because you can't just have him burn, you know, because we've seen that. And so he just burns? Well, he can come back. We know he can come back. There's got to be something else here that tells us he isn't coming back. You know, and that's, but yeah, no, anyways, to answer your question, I do think that there would be a level of respect to the series, because the series would just be 2 movies, or the Michael Myers story anyway. But yeah, I don't know, man. Interesting stuff. Super chat comes in from the Boogeyman is coming. Thank you, buddy. Says, does Dick's performance in H2 bother you? It seems way too slow and awkward, and the way he turns and moves looks rehearsed and silly at times. It's never bothered me, but certainly I can understand why it bothers some. Because it is we're supposed to believe that this is about 10 or 15 minutes later, and now he's, you know, and I've heard things like people have tried to justify it in their own minds, like, well, he was just shot 6 times, stabbed in the neck with a knitting needle, stabbed in the eye with a coat hanger, stabbed in, you know, the stomach with a knife, and he's walking slow because it's affected him somehow. Well, you know, whatever you have to tell yourself to make you sleep at night, okay, but that's not actually why he's walking like that. He's actually walking like that because the director didn't do his job. No offense, Rick Rosenthal, but according to Dick Warlock, nobody was giving him direction. They were just like, I don't know, do whatever you want. So Dick was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just, you know, and, you know, you have to remember too, at that time in 1980 and 1981, I mean, Halloween was a big success. It was, but it wasn't there was no internet. People weren't analyzing Nick's movements like they are today. It was only in the later sequels, when the movies became really bad, that that what was happening in the original started to look better and better and better and better, and going up and up and up and up and up, right? But, you know, back then, people weren't thinking about that. They weren't putting so much stock into Nick's performance. They weren't even looking at Nick's performance. He was just a guy. He was just a guy. So I guess to some degree, they were just like, I don't know, do whatever you want. You're just the killer. You know, they didn't realize back then how integral what Nick was doing was to that movie until so many other people did weird things, or put shoulder pads and things, and when it just like it's not working. This isn't working. A big part of the reason why the character of Myers didn't work in the later sequels, of course, is because of the mask. That is a gigantic part. I've said that 1,000 times. You've said that 1,000 times. That is true. But certainly there are portrayals of the shape that are suspect, and then you kind of go, and then everybody's looking back at Nick going, wait a minute. And now we start to go back in retrospect and analyze and look and decipher. And then you realize why it worked so well. It wasn't just the mask, but there's specific reasons of why his performance looked so good and worked so well that nobody was thinking about or cared about in 1981. You know what I mean? They weren't thinking of that. They weren't analyzing the movie. So, I get why it bothers some. I do. It doesn't bother me per se, but I do understand why it does bother you. Super chat comes in from... quite a few came in here. You guys are amazing. The Film Addict, thank you, buddy, says, hey, Dave, just sending a donation. My bad for not being in the streams lately. That's okay, man. That's okay. Hey, it's a busy time. I've been busy with taking care of my health, myself health-wise, and I've been working, plus my sleep schedule is messed up. Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. Props to you, man. Props to you. You got to do what you got to do. Stay strong, okay? Stay strong. Your health and your life comes first. All right. I really appreciate you supporting the channel like that, man. You're a great viewer, great supporter of the channel. So thank you. And stay safe, man. Stay safe. The Boogeyman is coming. Follows up with rate the better performance, Dick Warlock or Jamie Lee Curtis's wig. I would say, well, you know what? I'd say the better performance is Jamie Lee Curtis's wig. If I didn't, oh, you mean in Halloween 2? I thought you were talking about Halloween. I think the wig in Halloween 2, if you didn't know she was wearing a wig, it's not bad. It's not great. I think the wig in Halloween 18 is way better, obviously. I don't know. I think the wig's okay. I'm going to go with Dick Warlock, though. Frank Riker sends a super chat. Loomis yelling, Jamie, you know where the gin is. I love it. Jamie, you know where the gin is, don't you? It's under your bed, isn't it? Somebody get my fucking bottle of gin. It's like, what the fuck has gotten into Loomis? Holy snap and crap. Chris Baber sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it, man. Says, how do you think using only one leftover mask impacted the H2 film versus the 3 to 4 that were used in part 4? Only one leftover mask impacted the H2 film versus the 3 to 4. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, there's multiple reasons why they did use the same mask. For those of you that may not know, okay, there's about 200 people watching. There might be somebody in the chat that doesn't know this, although it's pretty common knowledge now and has been for years. But the mask used in Halloween 2 is actually literally the same mask from part 1. The reason why it looks a bit different is because of Dick Warlock's face. Dick Warlock, has more of a rounder face, and Nick Castle has more of a longer face. So it sits on Nick. So that's why there's more of what you call the Castle stretch. There are people who wear masks who try to get the Castle stretch. So they'll open they'll put the mask on and they'll go like this, or they'll put it on their chin and they'll kind of stretch it. Nick Castle wasn't doing that. He just was wearing the mask. It's because he has a longer face that it looks a bit longer, whereas Dick Warlock has a rounder face, so it kind of comes up and is a bit rounder. But it literally is the same mask. Of course, by the time they did Halloween 4, that mask was, yellow and rotting, and it was kind of doing that a little bit because it was in a shoebox under Deborah Hill's bed for 2 or 3 years before they went into production on Halloween 2. So by 1988, that mask was gone. Not gone, because obviously Dick Warlock had it, but it wasn't in any kind of shape, I think, to be used again. So they wanted to put their own stamp on it. I've said this 1,000 times that, they wanted to make it their own. They wanted to kind of do something that was, their own spin on it. And they did try. The mask that you see, the gaping continuity error in part 4, where Loomis is in the elementary school and Michael shows up in this with blonde hair. If you look at that mask, that's got to be I'm pretty sure it's a Dom Post Shatner mask. I mean, that the eyes are not cut out and the hair is still kind of blonde, but I can only imagine even the part 4 mask is actually, I think it is a Don Post Shatner mask, but whatever they did to it, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It may not be Don Post. But it's not like just some random white mask they found. They did try to do some things. It just didn't work. And I can only imagine how much better that movie would be if they had the original mask there, or one that looked very much like it. The mask is integral to Michael Myers, just as Freddy's makeup is integral to Freddy and Jason's mask is integral to him. It's part of the brand identity. So you change the brand identity and it feels like it'd be like buying a pair of Nike shoes with some weird unorthodox swoosh on the side. You know what the swoosh looks like. It's been like that for years. It's part of the brand identity. If you go to buy a pair of Adidas and the swoosh is jagged with a weird up and then it's like, is this even Adidas? Or sorry, not Adidas, Nike, excuse me. Is this even Nike, right? It's like, no, that's not Nike. That's Nike, because it gets so embedded into the pop culture that's what it is. It's part of their brand identity. Of course, at that time, that's what Michael looked like. And the fact that so many movies were made with so many different masks, and I get that, you could justify it as, well, I mean, what are the odds that he's going to walk into a store and find the exact same mask? He's going to look for something similar, and there you go. And that's helped me sometimes when I watch part 4 mostly. I don't give a fuck about 5. 5 doesn't make any sense because 5 should be the same mask as 4. It's not like in between 4 and 5, he walked into some hardware store and bought another mask. 5 doesn't look anything like 4 because it's a completely different mask, and yet it's supposed to be the same mask. It doesn't make any sense. 6 you can justify because, well, there's 6 years between 5 and 6. So you can say, okay, well, it's a different mask. He got it. Maybe they made it for him in some weird underground cult mask making room. You know what I mean? And here's your new mask. Okay, fine. But the transition between 4 and 5 just really doesn't make any sense. But I would say, yeah, I mean, it's definitely affected it. It has. Chris, how do you think using only the one leftover mask impacted the H2 film versus 3 and 4? Yeah, it's versus. Oh, wait a minute. How do you feel leftover mask impacted the H2 film versus the 3 and 4? I see okay. I see. I understand your question. I was going off on a bit of a different direction. I understand your tangent. I don't think it affected it at all, really, Chris. Actually, I don't think it affected it all. Did they only use one mask on part 2? I think you're probably right. I don't think it affected at all. Not at all. I don't think. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I just don't think so. I would have to talk. You'd have to get stories from Dick Warlock or the production. Were they having issues with the mask? Was the mask beginning to break down? Was the mask beginning to rot because of sweat on part 2? That we would never know because we just see the final product as is. But if you talk to Dick Warlock, he might say, oh, there were times where, God, that mask smelled so bad and I wish I had another one to pop on. That's entirely possible. And in that sense, it may affect it. But as far as I know, I think they were okay. That's a good question. I misunderstood your question at the beginning there, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now. Interesting. Great question, Chris. Super chat comes in from DreadMem77, says, hey, DreadMem77. Hey, Dave, the scene where Michael is walking down the hall in flames always bothered me because of how obvious it is that he's wearing a suit. Fair enough. Yep. Because of how bulky he looks takes me out of the moment. It's very true. It's very true. He is clearly wearing a fire retardant suit. You know what I mean? He's obviously the stuntman. Was that Dick Warlock that did that? That's not necessarily him, because I don't know if Dick Warlock had experience with fire and pyrotechnics like that. That probably was somebody else who would have had the experience to do that. But no, you're right. It's always, I didn't mention it when I was talking about my top 10 favorite moments, because I was just lost in the moment of it. But you are correct. Definitely, that is, you can tell that he is wearing a suit. You know. Maybe if they were to do it today, they would be able to mask that a bit more. Maybe there's better ways of doing it. But yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely, yeah, definitely, for sure. Definitely. One more time. Definitely looks like that. Joseph Esposito says, hey, Dave, big fan. I was curious if you knew who, if anyone, is in possession of the original mask. Yes, the original mask is owned by somebody. I forget his name. The chat room will probably be able to let you know. It is owned by somebody. He got it from Dick Warlock many years ago. And it is, as far as I know, it is in a vacuum sealed, sort of tight, air-locked vault of some sort. It's crumpled away. It looks, you can actually Google original Michael Myers mask and it'll come up. You'll see it's kind of like crumpling away at the neck and it looks kind of weird and crumpling. And the gentleman who owns that mask actually posted that picture, a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, just to kind of say, hey, everybody, it's still here, but it's airtight and locked because it's the air that gets to the latex that obviously destroys it. And certainly latex from the 70s would not be nearly as resilient as latex today. So especially cheap latex on a cheap little, Halloween mask from, a costume shop. I mean, I think Tommy Lee Wallace said he bought that mask for, what was it, like $3 or something? Like something really lame like that. Like it was just like, I mean, it wasn't designed to last forever and ever and be in movies and stuff because it was a William Shatner mask. It was a kid's mask. It was designed for kids to wear it trick-or-treating, So, but yeah, it exists. It definitely exists, my man. Let's see here. Wait, where did that go? Hang on a sec. Get these super chats. Michael Myers in the Hall of Flames. Okay. Mark Downs is the next one. Let's try and get Mark Downs. There we go. Mark Downs sends a super chat. Thank you, Mark. Says, I always think of Brackett moment when he sees Annie dead. That was powerful. And how he reacts to Loomis, and Loomis's reaction is pretty good. Yeah, it's a great moment, but you know what? That moment ceases to exist now. The last time, here's something that's cool that we don't think about, and I've mentioned this on my channel before. I've often said to people, when was the last time we saw Brackett before the 2018 film? And some people get it. They know what I'm trying to do. And they're like, oh, it's this. And then some people are like, oh, when he saw Annie dead. It's like, no, that sequel, Halloween 2, doesn't exist anymore. So the last time we saw Brackett was when Loomis met him at the window of his squad car and said, he's here, he's 2 doors down, you go around the back, I'll check the front, or something like that, right? And Brackett's like, all right. And he takes off. That's it. That's the last time we saw, before Halloween 2018, that is the last time we have seen Sheriff Brackett, because the events in Halloween 2 in this new timeline cease to exist. So the whole, you let him out. I didn't let him out. You let him out. I think he only says it once, but he's like, he's that never happened. Never happened. So, interesting, but a very powerful moment in Halloween 2. I could not agree more. Keith Davis sends a super chat. Thank you, Keith. Says, Halloween 5 still your most disliked movie? Yes, I think so. I think so because of the Halloween 5 and Resurrection are, I think, the 2 worst movies in the series, followed by H2O. I think H2O is very much a product of its time. I believe that, and I understand that I was 19 when it came out. I was working in a movie theater when it came out. I remember it very well. I know that it was a lot of people's introduction into the world of Halloween. It was a lot of people's first Halloween movie they either ever saw or saw in the movie theater. So there is an emotional attachment. There's an emotional nostalgic connection to that movie. But I don't think it's a very good Halloween movie. The Jamie Lee Curtis stuff's pretty cool. She's good in it. Like her character and her character's arc is good. But it doesn't feel like Halloween, doesn't look like Halloween. Looks like Michael Myers walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek. It's a very, it's a very much a product of its time. It's very dated. Don't like Chris Duran, I think that's his name. His portrayal of the Shape. Nothing against him personally, just not crazy on the Shape, not crazy on the mask. I don't feel much suspense in the movie. It's very much like I'm watching it's fun. It doesn't feel serious. It feels Scream-esque. And there's reasons for why it feels Scream-esque if you know who helped write it. But I don't feel any sort of... Yeah, I just don't feel... I don't feel anything there. So yeah, I would say definitely 5 is definitely one of my most disliked, because I don't think 4 is great, but I think 4 is a decent late 80s acceptable return to the Halloween universe with Michael Myers slasher. It doesn't explain how he can see. It doesn't explain how he survived the fire, and okay, fine. But in terms of the feel and the look and sort of where they're taking it, and okay, it's fine, But man, did 5 drop the ball. Holy Jesus. Let me see. A couple more super chats came in. Billy Van, my man, Billy, new patron to the channel. Thank you so much, buddy. Says, today I saw Michael walking his German Shepherd. I walked up to him and he was wearing a pineapple bikini. Amazing. You guys, how the hell? You guys see all, it's amazing. His dog told me Michael is starting a career as a male model after H ends. Incredible. Incredible, Billy. That is what I've always wanted to see Michael walking the catwalk, to I'm So Sexy for My Mask. I've always wanted to see it, and now it looks like I'm going to have the opportunity to actually see it. This is great. This is great. This is going to be great. I cannot wait. Chris Baber sends us a super chat and says, fuck this quarantine. What movies or shows are you watching during this BS? Oh man, I hear you, buddy. I hear you. What are we watching? Well, the other night I just watched again from I watched Dolores Claiborne with Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's a great movie from 1995. Great Stephen King movie. Watch that. The other night, I watched The Polka King on Netflix with Jack Black, based on that true story. If you guys haven't watched that movie, watch that movie. I love Jack Black. Oh, he's just so funny, and he's so funny, and he's very good at playing this character. If you guys have not watched The Polka King on Netflix, watch it. Really good. Really good. So, those are a couple movies I've watched over the last couple of days. Just trying to hang in, man. Just trying to hang in and, just take it in stride, man. It's pretty crazy. Thank you. Thanks, Chris, again, for supporting the channel, man. You rock. Malps says, this is a really big question I have about the timeline of H1 in 2018. Ooh, good. I like big questions, and I cannot lie. We see Michael is apprehended. We don't see him apprehended. We see that he has been apprehended, I think is what you mean. So we are left to assume they caught him after shooting him off the balcony? Yes. Now, we don't know the details of what happened there. What we know is we are introduced to Michael Myers at the beginning of the H-18 film, where he's in Smiths Grove Sanitarium. I think it's that, right? I think that's where he is. And he's in chains, shackled up, standing in the courtyard. We know through exposition that Hawkins, played by Will Patton, I think it's Will Patton, right? Yeah, I think it's Will Patton. He was the first arriving officer on scene that night. Now, we didn't see the flashback. I have a feeling we're going to see some of that in H Kills, which I think is unnecessary. But anyway, yes, we are told in a sort of roundabout way, but told that, yes, obviously he was apprehended and Hawkins was the first there on scene. Now, whether he was apprehended on the front lawn of the Doyle house, I don't think so, because when Dr. Loomis looks over, he's gone, right? So my guess is that he made his way down, the side of the house, down an alley or something. Maybe that's where he runs into Lonnie Lamb, right? Which is what we're going to see in the flashback for H Kills. My guess is, now again, I haven't seen the screening. My guess, there's only two ways you can do it. Either the flashback scenes with Lonnie Lamb happen before Michael is shot, or happen after Michael is shot. When I think of the original film, there's not too many places where you could, have a flashback scene with Lonnie Lamb before he shot, because Michael spends a lot of his time, most of his time, at the Wallace house. And yes, he might deviate and go from the Wallace house to the car to get the tombstone and this, that, and the other, but it's not like he's walking the streets after he arrives, essentially. Now, is there a moment that you could point to and say, well, for 5 minutes at this moment, he was walking around the corner to take a piss in a bush, and that's when he runs into Lonnie Lamb? Okay. But I think, logically speaking, your best bet is to implement that flashback scene after he's shot 6 times, falls off the balcony, and he escapes, because we don't know where he goes. And it's entirely possible that you could write something new then, that, oh, he runs into Lonnie Lamb for 5, seconds, and then the cops are there, and then, you could have that. And I think that is probably... he'll probably be apprehended and caught somewhere around the corner in somebody else's house, on somebody else's lawn, or something to that degree, because all the cops, they all pull up, right? I don't want to see that. I think it's completely unnecessary. I don't think we need to see that. I certainly don't want to see him being put in handcuffs. As far as I would go with a flashback, as far as I would go with that scene, is Michael maybe he's trapped, he's cornered maybe, and the cops are there and they got their guns out and they're pointing at him. That's where you end it. I don't want to see him being put in handcuffs or, get on the ground and Michael drops to his knees. And I don't want to see that. I don't want that's seeing that humanizes him too much. And I don't think we need to see that. We can fill in the blanks of how he was apprehended. Maybe it was difficult getting him. Maybe they were there all night, and it took 5 hours to apprehend him because they were too scared to approach him, or they were too, and he was just looking, and he was just like, how can he just stand there for 5 hours, and what's going on? And, they want to approach him, but, Dr. Loomis is like, no, careful, the evil is, whatever. But we don't need to see that. I don't want to see him in handcuffs being thrown up against the side of a cruiser or something. It's just, no, man, no. So that's my worry when it comes to the flashback of that. But we don't know how that's going to work. But your question was, of course, is he apprehended after falling off the balcony? Yes, but I don't think it's right there. I think it's when he's around the corner after maybe he runs into, Lonnie, and, it's like 5-10 minutes later. That's what I think is going to happen. And they may end up showing that. Reese Wilson sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Reese. Great support of the channel. Patron, too. Says, hey, Dave, don't you think Dr. Sartain was a wasted opportunity in H-18? I think H-18 would have been more interesting, centered around Sartain, Hawkins, and Laurie rather than the teens during the middle act. I agree with most of what you've said there. I think Dr. Sartain, as I did in my review of Halloween 2018 on my channel, and it was a review. I always say that I'm not a reviewer, which I'm not, because I think that's the last review I've done, and the only one that I've done. But I did do a review of that movie because obviously, it's that movie. I agree. I said that I had a like-hate relationship with the Sartain character. I actually like the Sartain character, but I loathe what they did with him. I thought it was a wasted opportunity. It did not feel organic. It felt like it was just shoehorned in to get Michael to Laurie's house. And I think there are other more creative ways they could have done that. I think it was just, he was wasted. And I think it would have been much more, and I think Hawkins was wasted too. I think it would have been much more interesting had Sartain and Hawkins been the ones to, that they too were at the house, maybe trying to get in, and if they had survived the rest of the movie. The teen characters were, I agree. They were obviously were there to serve a purpose. They were there to be killed, right? So you don't expect them to be three-dimensional characters. You don't expect them to, serve any sort of real emotional attachment to them, I guess. But yeah, I definitely, as far as characters go, I certainly find those two more interesting. And the primary reason for that is because even though, there is nothing before this, they are characters that are connected to the past. So we know that Hawkins was the first officer on scene. So there's a history there. There's much more potential there. There's a backstory there. What has Hawkins been doing? How has he been? what's his experience been like the last 40 years? There's much more meat on the bone when it comes to Hawkins. He's potentially a much more interesting character. The same with Sartain, right? He studied under Loomis. He's been with Michael for 40 years. Whether we agree with some of his assessments or not is irrelevant. He's a much more interesting, dynamic, and deeper, potentially, character, because of that connection. Much more interesting to hear what he has to say, to see him in that environment, to see the conversations between Hawkins and Loomis, Hawkins and Sartain, and Hawkins and, Laurie. It is. It's much more interesting to watch than just Vicky and Julian. And, it's like we kind of know how this is going to go. And because the suspense was ruined in the marketing for the movie, the scene with Vicky fell flat because we knew by the trailer when she was going to die, how she was going to die, and where she was going to die, and that she was going to die. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that she was going to die is not a big deal. I mean, anytime you see a bunch of teenagers in a horror movie, they're going to go down. But the fact that we knew when, how, and where was really disappointing. I mean, I understand, great for marketing, great moment to end a trailer, but any sort of suspense that you were trying to create with that character or that scene was lost because we knew all that. So, it wasn't a very suspenseful movie. Had suspenseful moments, but, as I've said, I don't hate the movie. I don't hate it, but I've always said that it's a really good modern slasher movie, but not a great Halloween movie. It's better than the rest of the sequels, apart from 2. It's yes, I agree. And they're on the right track. But there's just certain things, as that I wish they would have done, but it's just creative differences. That's all. My hat goes off to them. I mean, to make it, they put their heart and soul into that film, and they made the best possible Halloween movie they wanted that they could make and that they wanted to make. And they delivered on that, and it made tons of money, and my hat goes off to them, right? It's just some creative decisions that I was like, I don't know if I would have done that, But I definitely agree with that. Let's see here. Darren Sands talking to Movie Chat and More. Jack Ellis says, I'm just a patsy. Michael Meyer. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Lee Harvey Oswald. Let's see. Super Chat comes in from Eddie Greens 101. Thank you, Eddie. Switching things up. I did a live stream last night of my top 10 favorite game shows. Having said that, what's your all-time favorite game show? That's a good time favorite game show. Man, my all-time favorite game show. I would say Price is Right has got to be up there. I love The Price is Right. Really like Family Feud. I like I think it was a Canadian game show called Bumper Stumpers. I think that was Canadian, where they would show you license plates and you would have to phonetically sort of figure out what it's saying. You know what I mean? Like it's saying something. I think that was a Canadian show. Maybe it was American, actually. Way back in the day, the dating game was always fun to watch. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of great ones. But I loved The Price is Right growing up. And then, of course, I've told this a few times on my channel. When I was in Los Angeles for the Voice Arts Awards in 2015, the last day we were there, my girlfriend and I went to The Price is Right, and we were sitting in the audience. I'll try to make this quick as possible because I have told this before. But anyway, so we're sitting in the audience, and it's live to tape. It's not live to air. And between the setting up the games, Drew Carey is out there talking to the audience, and I'm in the center, and he's like, David, because your name tags have to be your full names legally, so it says David on it. And he says, David, where are you from? I said, I'm from Toronto, Canada, and a few people are like, woo, a couple other Canadians in the audience, right? And he's like, what do you do? And I said, I'm a professional voice actor. And he's like, oh, really? And he found that really interesting. And he looks over to George Gray, who's the announcer, and he's like, oh, we got a professional voice actor in here. Sort of, I got the sense that they were like, oh, right, sure. So Drew asks me to come up to the front of the stage and take his microphone and give him my best, come on down, right? So I'm like, all right. So I wish this was caught on tape. I wish it was on TV, but it happened while they were setting up the game. So nobody was, recording. So there's no evidence of this. And obviously you're not allowed to have your phones in there. So it's too bad. It's just a memory. But I took the microphone and I said, I said something like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Price is Right. And then he wanted me to say George Gray, because George Gray always tells people to come on down, but nobody ever tells him to come on down, right? So he asked me to do that. So I said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Price is Right. George Gray, come on down. I did this whole big thing, right? And Drew Carey was on his knees laughing because he didn't expect it to be so good, I guess. And everybody was cheering, and George Gray and the producer of The Price is Right came out. His name is Adam Sandler, not that Adam Sandler, but at the time, I think he's still the producer, came out and he's like, I think we found our new announcer. And I said, listen, and then I joked with him. I'm like, I'm probably cheaper. I'm just saying, I might be able to do it cheaper. We all had a good laugh and whatnot, and, shook hands. And that was a really cool experience. I mean, who else can say, other than the announcer of The Price is Right, can say that in that studio, they said, come on down. You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't think too many other people other than the announcers have ever said that in there. So that was really cool. And I like belted it. Like I milked it like it was like, like I was the announcer. I had it was like, hey, I better be on here, right? I better be good. So, and it was great. So an experience I'll never forget. So I will say Price is Right, probably one of my all-time faves. But Family Feud's fun to watch too, definitely. Let's see what's going on. Die Hard Drummer 84 says, Dave, for the trailer, they should have cut to black as Vicky opens the door to keep mystery and suspense. In the movie, turns out it could have been a cat or claws or something. Thoughts on that? Cut to black. Yeah, you would have to have a... Yes, I don't know. It all depends on what's it all depends on the flow. There has to be a flow to the trailer, and cut to black. I mean, if you cut to black, oh, I see. And then in the movie, it could be a cat or something, so it doesn't go. Yeah, I just think how I would have, maybe, that's possible. It may work that way. I think a better way, though, too, is I think what would have been better for the scene, actually, is, and again, it's just creative differences. I just, I'm not trying to, they did what they did, and it was good. It was fine. But I think what would have been cool is if she goes to the closet door and the light is off. Because why is the light? Well, Julian says, can you go to the closet to turn on the light? Because he's scared and he wants the light on. So at that moment, the light is actually off. So Vicky goes to the closet, she opens the door, and she turns on the light. And when the light comes on, there's Michael Myers. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, like that would have been really impactful, rather than just opening the door and seeing him. Opening the door and seeing him totally works. It's totally fine, works great. But I think it would have been really cool if there was that moment where you open it and it's kind of quiet and, whatever. And then she opens the closet. She tries to turn on the light and it doesn't work. And she's, rummaging around the closet, maybe trying to, what is this? There's something, sorry, I'm trying to, and his face kind of comes out of the darkness, a la Janet in Halloween 2 kind of thing. You know what I mean? That would have been really cool too. And very indicative, very, very much part of Michael's MO, very much part of what he does, and that would have been really cool. I think just opening the closet and seeing him there works, but you kind of expect it, I think you expect something to happen in the closet anyway, but I think if there was just that extra few beats, where you're expecting her to open the closet, but don't do that yet. Just kind of open the closet and have people go, oh, maybe, give that little bit of false sense of security and then hit them. I think would have been cool, because as soon as, even if we hadn't seen that in the trailer, as soon as Julian says, can you go check the closet or close the door, open the door, whatever it is. As soon as he says that and she's going over to the closet, we kind of know, you know what I mean? And I think it would have been better to have more of the false sense of security, open the closet door, the lights off, try to, you know what I mean? Just it's those extra beats, that really sort of really help that scene. But it is what it is, and it works, but it certainly, we knew it was coming because of the marketing, that's for sure. Some people are saying the Love Connection. Yeah, Love Connection. Yes, I remember the Love Connection. Oh my goodness. Press your luck. Yes. Pig in a poke. Yes, Darren. Pig in a poke. European Vacation, ladies and gentlemen. I think that was what it was called, right? In European Vacation. Such a fucking stupid. I love it. I love it. Bullseye. Blockbusters in UK. A lot of great game shows out there. Let's see. Super chat comes in from 11-year-old gamer. Hi, Dave, my 11-year-old son. Okay, good. I'm glad that you're not the 11-year-old gamer. And I love your channel. Been watching for a long time. My son currently mimics your Friday the 13th Part 3 dance. Hilarious. You're a funny guy, Dave. Well, tell your son hello and tell your son to keep on dancing. Keep on dancing. I'm glad that he likes it because they're fun to do. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Let's see. The Boogeyman is coming. Sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, which has the better Halloween atmosphere, 1 or 2? Well, you know, I mean, because Halloween was shot in California and because it was shot in the springtime and, you know, in the middle of Pasadena and West Hollywood, you know, Halloween 1 doesn't really have a autumn Halloween atmosphere. I mean, there are sequels in the Halloween franchise that have better atmosphere. Halloween 4 has a better Halloween atmosphere. Halloween 5 has a better Halloween atmosphere. Halloween 6 has a better Halloween atmosphere, right? I think where the fall atmosphere, where I do feel a bit of the fall atmosphere in the original would be when it goes to night, because at nighttime you can't really see the color of the foliage. And at nighttime, you know, you see the wind, you know, blowing the leaves across the ground and things like that. And it's nighttime and the wind's blowing. And so you do really get a sense that this is autumn. And of course, when Michael is chasing Laurie across the street at the end, the leaves are blowing in front of him as he's watching. Such a great shot. So there are moments in the original Halloween where I do feel the autumn vibe. But certainly, I can understand why there are people that say, hey, listen, the original Halloween's very green. Oh, it is. It's very green. There's no doubt about it. With Halloween 2, you spend a lot of your time in the hospital. I don't know if there's an autumn atmosphere or Halloween atmosphere. I guess you're talking, well, you said Halloween atmosphere. So, you know, and here I am talking about autumn atmosphere. You're talking about Halloween atmosphere, which takes place in autumn. And I think these are mutually exclusive. You'll often hear me say things like, that's not necessarily mutually exclusive to each other. And what I mean by that is that you don't necessarily need one to have the other. With this, you kind of do, because Halloween does take place in autumn, in fall, right in the heart of autumn, right in the heart of fall. So I think, although people all over America, obviously, you can celebrate Halloween in California and it looks pretty green. Because this takes place in the Midwest, or supposed to, I think Halloween 2, I think they're maybe both the same. I think because Halloween 2 takes place all at nighttime, then obviously, you know, you feel it maybe a bit more because it's at night entirely. But, you know, I mean, neither 1 or 2 has the kind of fall atmosphere that 4 does, or even 5 does, or even 6 does. I mean, 6, 5, and 4, you know, if there is one thing they do all have is pretty good fall atmosphere. And that's because they were all shot, I believe, in Salt Lake City. So it's, and in and around that time. So, you know, it's just better. It is the Midwest, so it feels more like it. But you know, between those two, I would think they're pretty interchangeable. Pretty interchangeable, I think. Robert Thidoff says, do you think Halloween 2 from 1981 had a better Halloween fall autumn atmosphere than Halloween 1978? We're kind of talking about that. Well, just kind of same thing. I think that I'm going to say no, and unless, I mean, maybe apart from the daytime scenes, sure, but I think the nighttime scenes in Halloween 1 are pretty on line with the nighttime scenes in Halloween 2. DMT Infinity says, oh, hear me out, please hear me out. She turns on the light. Michael isn't there. She turns on the light off. She turns the light off and then emerges from the darkness. Ooh, I like it. DMT Infinity. That's pretty good. That's a really good idea. I like it. Props to you, sir. Props to you. I do like that, because then it leads you to believe, how the fuck, if he's not there, how did he, was he in the back of the closet a bit more? Was he behind some clothes? And you always, if you're going to do that, you do have to present that option, because he's not literally a supernatural being and entity that can shapeshift and dematerialize, although that's alluded to in a certain scene in the original. He's not literally, we don't see him dematerialize, right? So he's not literally doing those things. There's just that suggestion that's there that keeps the ambiguity and the enigma of the shape intact. So you would have to have the closet full of clothes, maybe, and maybe off to the right of the closet, there's some clothes that he could be hiding behind. So when she turns on the light, you don't immediately see him, right? And she's just kind of like, oh, and then she turns it off, because maybe, there's something, she turns it on and maybe he wants it off, or I don't know, you have to rearrange his reasons for having Vicky go over there. But I do like that. Or maybe she turns it on, but the bulb goes out because it's an old bulb. And she turns to Julian and says, don't worry, sweetie, I'll go see if there's a bulb downstairs in the kitchen or in the garage, or where do your parents keep the light bulbs? And as she's saying that, as she's having that conversation with Julian, his face comes out of the darkness. Oh! You see what I'm saying there, right? Totally. But you have to have at least a viable option for him to have been hiding there. Was he hiding there? Or was he there at all? We're never going to know. And that's what makes it work. That would have been way cooler, right? She turns on the light. She goes over there. She turns on the light. And as she turns it on, it's on for, a couple of seconds. And then it goes, whatever. It's like, oh, you know what? And she turns around, sweet, or she looks in the, first you got to do this though. So you walk up to the closet, she opens it, and she turns on the light, and you can clearly see that there's nobody in the closet. Okay. Maybe Julian wants something from within the closet. Maybe that's what it is. So instead of him having the closet light on, or he wants the closet light on, but he also wants something in the closet, like something of comfort, a blanket, a teddy bear. He's maybe a little old for that, but something that he wants, maybe a cool kind of, maybe like a Transformers doll or something cool. He wants that. So she goes over there, opens the closet, turns on the light, okay, and then is looking for that thing that he wants. And as she's looking for that thing that he wants, that establishes to the audience and to the character, of course, that there's nobody in the closet, right? Because we have to see that, right? We have to see that there's nobody here. And she ends up finding that. And then as she finds it, the light goes out. And she turns around and she maybe, tosses it to him, right? And she's like, oh, sorry, the light's out, sweetie. Where do your parents keep the... And then that's when you see, oh, yeah. Where the fuck was he? The light was, I didn't even, what the hell? But when you go back and you look at it, you go, well, there are clothes. Maybe he was behind there. There has to be a viable option for that potential, but you have to allude to the idea that maybe he wasn't there, but you got, and that's how you work the shape. That's how you work the shape. Because he is a human being. We have to remember that. You know what I mean? So that would be cool, man. You got me excited, DMT. You got me excited, my man. That's really cool. I like that. Really cool stuff. All right, we'll go for a few more minutes here. Let's see, make sure I got all the super chats. 11-year-old gamer, yes. The boogeyman is coming, yes. Good stuff. Going over to the other side, making sure I didn't miss any super chats. I don't believe I did. No. This has been a fun show today, guys. This has been a fun show indeed. This has been good, my man. This has been good. Nick Townsend says, what about the final act in H2 where he walks through glass on the hospital door? what about it? I had it in my top moments. I did have it. DMT Infinity say exactly. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Look at that 3D Dave McRae right there. Yeah, totally. I mean, that would have been cool, right? And you're building suspense, because you think she's going to open the closet door. Oh, there's nothing there. Oh, she's going to turn on the light. Oh, there's nothing there. Right? It creates that false sense of security twice, and then the light goes out. Now, the light going out would trigger a natural, maybe, but, you kind of milk it just a little bit. She turns around, throws him the stuffed transformer or whatever a kid that age today would like, or maybe it's not even stuff. Maybe it's a cool little toy that he just wants or whatever, a blanket or whatever. And as she's talking to him, right, as she's like, hey, don't worry, sweetie. I'll change the light. Where do your parents keep the light bulbs? I think they keep them in the garage. Okay. And then that's when he's starting to, and then Julian's going, whatever. And then he just grabs her and is fuck, yes. If that had happened, because I saw the movie at the world premiere here in Toronto, if that had happened amongst, I would have been like, now that doesn't mean I'm going to like the rest of the movie. I mean, that in and of itself doesn't make the movie great. If the movie played out the same, I probably would still have the same gripes and concerns with the film. But at that moment, I would have been like, oh, woo! Now that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah, it would have been great. And relatively easy to do. Totally cool. You have inspired me. That's what I'm talking about. DMT Infinity says, see, this is why I feel like you're the only people in this community that really gets it. Oh, I think there are other people that get it. For sure. I know what you're saying, though. But there are a lot of people in this chat room right now that are probably going, oh. And then there's probably some that are like, no. No, Dave, no. But you know what? Hey, man, totally, absolutely. We're a bunch of great peeps here. Grant F says, Dave, did you watch Wham's interview with makeup artist? I have not. I was asked the question earlier. I did see that it popped up. Great that the guys at Wham were able to get Chris on. Chris is a hell of a dude, and it was great that they were able to get him on and talk shop, so I will make sure that I check that out. Woo Hollywood Celebrity says, Dave, you're awesome. Julian is one of my favorites. Do you think they should have played Mr. Sandman when Michael walks through the glass? In Halloween 2? No. Because it already played at the beginning of the movie, and no. I don't think so. Because it would have been a weird... No. I think it's fine the way it is. Let's just say that. Jason Nike says, Dave, have you seen the refurbished pics of Bruce the Shark? Yes, I have. Greg, is it Nicetro? Brought him back to life. I have seen them. Really cool to see how he was able to actually bring that back. Now, again, there were many sharks that were used in Jaws. This was just one. I don't know where this was used in the movie. It doesn't look like the one that was used, chomping on Quint. It actually looks a little small. So I'm not sure where in Jaws this was used, because I think they had three or four sharks that they used. I would like to know where that one was used, but I did see it, and really, really cool. Absolutely. Rick Baker says, my favorite moment is where Myers walks quickly towards Laurie in the hospital parking lot. I saw H2 in theaters, and I hadn't heard audiences scream like that since Jaws in 75. Goosebump intensity. It's my number 2, man. It's my number 2. I think it was my number 2. Was it my number 2? I think it was my number 2. Yep, my number 2. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hear you, man. Oh, I hear you, buddy. 100%. Movie Chat and More says, Dave, are you still going to do your Jaws vid? Yes, I will do Jaws. 100%. Yep, I will. Eventually. Jaws is a more intense one to tackle, but I definitely will do it. Michael Myers says, hi, it's Michael Myers, Dave. I need my mask back for Halloween Kills. Right back up there, folks. Well, come and get it, you son of a bitch. The Lonely Stoner says, the classic audience's reactions were unreal. I could not agree more. Vince Garalewski? Sorry, Graluski, am I saying that right? The red light on Michael is under. The red light Michael is under is terrifying. Could not agree more. And when he starts to walk away from the red light, which I believe its source is supposed to be from a building, the building he probably comes out from, or from out from behind, I mean, as he's walking through the actual parking lot, that is amazing. There's some, I might actually like that lighting better than the red light. The mask looks great. Dick Warlock looks great. It is absolutely the most terrifying scene in Halloween 2. 100%. And Laurie is selling it. She is selling it hardcore. And it's great to see her selling it in that way. Anthony Stanfield sends in a super chat, says, how has COVID-19 affected your life? Well, I do most of my work from home. I'm very thankful to, as a professional voice actor with a home studio here, professional home studio, I am able to do most of my work from home. I do, even before COVID-19, about 65% of the work that I do was from home anyway. However, it has affected me like it's affected everybody else. I mean, studios, production companies, buyers, clients, I mean, they are affected. So that is affecting them as well. I mean, projects that were on the go are being halted. Projects that were being, commercials and what have you have been delayed for various reasons. So it's sort of like a chain, down the list. So they're being affected, which affects that, which affects this, which affects that, which affects this, which affects hiring the voice talent. You know what I mean? So it's affecting everybody. I have noticed some things slow down a bit. Thankfully, I was able to do and still am able to do some spots from home, of course, which I'm able to do, but it's affecting everybody. So hopefully we can get back to a normal life sooner rather than later. I really hope so. Let's take this thing to 1 o'clock. What the hell? Another 6 minutes. What the hell? That'll make it nice round number, taking it to 1 o'clock. I need a shave. Woo! I need a shave, baby. Anyway. Chastity Smith says, the nurse finding all the tires slashed on the cars in the parking lot is kind of creepy. Yes, it is. As well as, but what always bugged me was, why didn't she run away instead of going back in? Probably, I think she went back into, because that's when she goes back in and she finds Laurie. Laurie, wait, Laurie. I think she went back in maybe to phone 911, or was it? Did we know the lines were out at that time? I don't know. I mean, really, in reality, she went back in to get killed. Okay, Chastity, that's why she went back in. She went back in because they needed to kill her off. But I get what you're saying. It's maybe she should have ran from the building at that point, right? She was going to go get help, but maybe she went back in to try and find Jimmy. I don't know. I mean, there might have been a reason for that, but definitely is creepy. And then the camera, yeah, I mean, it's creepy. It's creepy when she sees that, and the camera showing all the tires. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Totally agree. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss any. Nope. I'm not missing them today. That's good. Zach Frederick says, Dave, I know you hate crossovers, but do you think Pumpkinhead should cross over with Leprechaun? No. It's because I hate crossovers. Point blank, buddy. Point blank. Kitty Cat Samurai says, I like that name. Says, Dave, I don't want to scare you, but I think your masks just moved behind you. You might be right. Frank Greger sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, Dave, are you going to buy the 4K Jaws? I am. Yeah, you're damn right I am. Of course I am going to buy the 4K Jaws. Amazing. Billy Van says, Dave, thanks for the 30-second movie trailer. Hey, you're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. Anybody who joins the level 3 patron on my the level 3 tier on my Patreon gets a 30-second Halloween kind of movie trailer, made up, of course, of me doing my movie trailer voice, and at the end of the trailer announcing you as the star of the movie. So yes, Billy, you're more than welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Robert Thidoff says, do you wish Frank Darabont directed more movies, or was it more demand? Oh, 100%, man. I've said that many times on this channel. Frank Darabont, the director of The Green Mile, the director of The Shawshank Redemption, the director of The Mist from 2007, I believe. He also directed 2001's The Majestic with Jim Carrey. I mean, definitely his strongest film is Shawshank, followed by The Green Mile. He is an incredibly talented director and writer, I might add. he still is directing, but he's directing television, does a lot of television. He's directed a lot of the Walking Dead episodes, I believe. He's still involved, but it is too bad that he doesn't direct more feature films. I don't know if that is a conscious choice he's made, that he just doesn't have the desire to do it, that he just doesn't want to do it, and he enjoys the television medium more, perhaps. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I mean, the guy who has directed The Green Mile, Shawshank, The Mist, I mean, he's only directed 4 major feature films in his life. And his last one was The Mist, which is, 13 years ago, I believe. So, and I like The Mist. The CG, the CG in The Mist is fine. There's just the CG of the worms that come through the back door, and that still looks like ass. Looks like fucking ass. It really does. I don't like that at all. Looks like CG worms. But The Mist is a very well directed horror movie and has one of the most iconic surprise endings in any movie I've ever seen. The first time I watched that movie, I remember watching that movie at home, and I remember going, I had literally a physical reaction. That's not just what I was thinking. I literally am watching the movie alone at home. I lived in a different spot than where I do now. And I literally went, oh shit. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? He was right there. Oh my God. I mean, one of the best endings I've ever seen. Frank Darabont is terrific, and I wish he would direct more feature films, but he hasn't yet. He hasn't. Lauren Downing says it's Veda. She's up there shopping for her Halloween costume this year. She can't decide which masks to go with. Maybe it's her. You're right. Maybe it's Veda. She's up there tinkering around or something like that. You're probably right, folks. You are probably right. Or probably right, Lauren, I should say. You're probably right. Lee Bauer says, hey, Dave, why didn't Nick Castle continue as Michael Myers to Halloween 2, the whole Halloween 2 movie? I'm sure it's out there as to why. From what I remember, it's just, I think Nick might have been, because Nick wanted to be a director. I mean, he went to USC, I believe, with John Carpenter. So I think it was USC they went to. And he wasn't, it's known that he was hired to be the Shape because he was hanging around the set. And John Carpenter said, hey, listen, if you're going to be here every day, why don't you just throw on this mask and be our killer? And Nick was like, all right, but ultimately he wanted to be a director. And it's possible, the chat room may know, it's possible that Darren says he was writing Escape from New York at the time. Okay. Yeah, I knew he was busy, and that probably was what he was busy doing, although he's not the only writer on that film. But you're right, he did have a hand in writing that movie. But also, too, we have to remember that nobody, at that time, nobody valued the importance of that. It wasn't seen as a big deal. It was at the time seen just throw anybody in the fucking costume. It doesn't matter who's in there. We need somebody to throw on the mask. Wait, we're back. We're okay. Bit of a hiccup there. That is ultimately why, that's part of the reason why, it wasn't seen as a big deal. So, but Darren is absolutely right. He was busy with some things at the time too, which is part of the reason why he couldn't commit to it. But, let's not underestimate or not specify enough. Let's emphasize how important this fact is, that people didn't take that much stock into getting, the right person in the costume, especially at that time. Now it's a bit different for the reasons that I explained earlier in the show. But Darren's right. He did have a hand writing Escape from New York. in that. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. Grant F says, Dave, what time is it in Toronto? It's 1:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Toronto. Folks, that is going to do it for me. Thank you for tuning in to episode 43. Episode 43 of McRae Live. I really appreciate all the super chats that came in today, all the non-super chats that, of course, come in as well, all the questions you guys are asking. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the channel in the ways that you do. This was a fun show. I had a lot of fun doing this show. I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 44 of McRae Live. Hard to believe we're up to 44 episodes already. You guys are amazing. Stay safe and remember to be vigilant, but to make those to be safe and to make those decisions, those informed decisions. So you make decisions based on informed decisions based on fact rather than knee-jerk decisions based on fear. So just make sure to stay safe, and hopefully we can get out of this sooner rather than later. You guys are amazing. You know that. And if you don't, you should by now. And I will talk to you guys soon. In the meantime and in between time, that'll do it for me. Cheers.